Hi guys, this is John from Walton's TV, and this is Meet Gistics. Many of you have purchased a Walton sausage stuffer and others are thinking of it. These stuffers are well built, easy to use, and fairly inexpensive. The stuffers have very few points of failure, but one of those is the gearbox. I'm going to show you how to replace the gearbox and how to do some preventative maintenance. There are 4 screws underneath the gearbox with a plate that we'll need to remove. So we're going to go ahead and unscrew them. And you'll be able to feel when it drops down. Just pull it back from the bottom and it'll come right out. The next step we want to do is to remove the 4 screws from this side and the 4 screws from this side. To do that, I'm just going to flip it on its side. And so now we have the housing released, unscrewed from the gearbox. We want to remove this housing. And easiest way to do that is to grab underneath on the back, pull it down a little bit and out towards you, and the front. And there you go. And now I need to remove the 2 bolts from this side and the 2 bolts from this side. It is metric, so you want to use a 14 metric socket. So now it's secured with just the 2 bolts from this side. I'm going to want to start bracing it with my hand so that it doesn't just fall down. So now I have the gearbox, everything's removed from it. The only thing keeping it up are these 2 places where the handle goes. So to prevent any wear on it that's unnecessary, I'm just bracing it with the bottom of my hand. And then I'm going to simply slide out this side and your gearbox comes right out. Simple as that. Now, there was nothing wrong with this gearbox, so I'm just going to go ahead and put the exact same one back into it. To do that, I just reversed everything that I've done to this point. While I have the gearbox out, I want to show you some quick and simple maintenance that you can do to extend the life of your gearbox. Just like anything else, it's metal on metal, so we want to keep it lubricated. What we like to use is white oil. It's inexpensive and it's a highly refined Packers Tech oil, meaning it's not going to gum up pretty much no matter how often you use it. It's also 100% food safe, so if some of that drips down into your food, no problems. So to do this, we would just go ahead and spray lightly in there, make sure they're all lubricated. This one still has plenty of the manufacturer's lubrication, so I'm not going to add it to it. And then to replace this, we're just going to follow the exact process as before, just in reverse. So I'm going to put this up in here and start adding everything back. First, I'll do the bolts on the side away from the handle. And at this point, I'm just hand tightening them because there is something that we're going to want to check before we go ahead and tighten them down with the wrench. So as we're putting the bolts back into this side, we want to try and make sure that these are centered in their holes. If you have these perfectly centered, everything else will go smoothly from here on out. So it's worth the extra couple of minutes it takes to do it this way. It'll save you a lot of time in the long run. So we're just being really careful, making sure that those look perfectly centered, that they're not resting on the bottom of the holes. That's where we can get into some problems. Okay, so we're just going to make sure that these are still centered in their holes and they're a little bit off from putting it on its side, so I'm just going to make sure they're back to where they need to be and tighten it down. Okay, still good. And just double check, and yep, we're still centered. So we're gonna go ahead and put the arm back in. To do that, we're gonna wanna make sure the end with the hole is on the bottom and the ratchet part is facing towards the back of the machine. So we'll align it, get it up in its hole, and just begin cranking. Sometimes that takes a little bit of finesse. This time it just happened to work out perfectly, no problems there. We'll go ahead and raise it all the way up to make this next part a little bit easier. We're gonna have to reinstall this bottom plate. And to do that, we're just gonna put it on its side, put the plate on, make sure the holes are lined up, and so now we have our arm back in. The next thing to do is to reattach the piston. It simply screws into that hole underneath. But while I have this out, I do want to go over one thing. This is where the piston gasket goes. You've seen it, it's the little rubber part. This is the other wear part on these machines. There's two ways you can extend the life of them. The first one is to make sure that you're always using white oil anytime you're using your stuffer. You can either coat that directly, or I find it easier to actually coat the top inside of the canister. This way, as the piston is pushing down, the rubber gasket will go ahead and lubricate itself. It's just a little bit cleaner, easier to do. The other problem people run into is that when the piston gasket is on the piston, to get it off, they'll use either a knife or something sharp to get behind it and pry it off. This isn't a good idea, as it can cause even little tiny tears, which will eventually expand and break your gasket. The best thing to do is, if it won't come off just with your hands, soak it in warm water. That'll loosen up the gasket and you'll be able to pull it off with just your hands. And there you go. So you've got your new gearbox ready to go, or you've exposed it and lubricated it like you should do every once in a while. Either way, you should be getting years of service out of this. They really are great little pieces of equipment. Make sure you subscribe to Walton's TV, and remember to tap the bell next to the subscribe button to get notified about all new videos. Plus, like and comment on this video, and visit waltonsinc.com and meatgistics.com to find everything but the meat. Thanks for watching Meatgistics. I'm John with Walton's TV, and I'll see you guys next time.
Subscribe to Walton's TV to watch more YouTube videos, or shop at waltonsinc.com to find everything but the meat. You can also watch more videos from Walton's TV by clicking here or clicking here.